What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video. Today we're going to be discussing the Toronto Maple Leafs and Nikita Zaitsev working on a trade. Both parties, I guess, are working on getting a fresh start. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, with their cap issues, are probably okay with allowing this deal to happen, although the Leafs' defense, their blue line isn't looking very good, with Gardner leaving, Dermott being hurt, Ron Hainsey's not going to be there, and now with Zaitsev going, it leaves a pretty big hole. But we'll get to all of those things as the video goes on. But it looks like Nikita Zaitsev was the one who requested the trade, but I just have some information here. The first tweet that sparked it was Elliot Friedman saying, after a difficult season, Toronto and Nikita Zaitsev are working together to find him a fresh start. He is available, and we will see where it goes. Then it was followed up by Bob McKenzie saying, it was Nikita Zaitsev who, for personal reasons, asked Toronto today to try to facilitate a trade. He has 5 years remaining on a contract with an average annual value of $4.5 million. Toronto will try to oblige Zaitsev, but are not in a salary cap position to retain much, if any, salary. So here's the thing about this first tweet is, first of all, I'd like to say that if you look on my channel, I was excited when Zaitsev came to Toronto, and I actually was excited when he got his extension, because if you look at Zaitsev's numbers and his first season with the Leafs, he was not used in a defensive role. He was looked at more as an offensive option, and he actually looked pretty good. So in his first season in Toronto, in 82 games played, he had 36 points. He had 4 goals and 32 assists while being a minus 22, but he's never been the guy where you're looking for him to be this monster defensive defenseman, but his role kind of changed. Babcock used him in the penalty kill role. He wasn't getting any power play time, and like I said, his role changed. He was not being looked at as a guy to be an offensive threat. They were looking at him to be a defensive guy in their top 4, to work their penalty kill, and to be a shutdown guy against other teams' second lines and possibly their first lines, depending on how they used him. But the season after that, he had 13 points in 60 games, and then this past year he had 14 points in 81 games. And he fell out of favor with a lot of Leaf fans because he was giving away the puck a lot. And here's the thing about Zaitsev. I'm never going to hate the guy, and there's been times where I'm like, damn, I really wish he didn't mess up. But everybody makes mistakes, and I've always been one to defend him sometimes, because sometimes it gets ridiculous when everything is blamed on a player, and Jake Gardner definitely has felt that before too. But you can't blame everything on one guy, and a lot of mistakes that Zaitsev were made. If you watch hockey, if you're a fan of the game, if you study the game, and you know how positions are supposed to be played, there was plays when pucks were being thrown out of the zone where a winger should have been, or a play that was being made, Zaitsev would make a pass and the player wasn't there to receive the puck. So it goes both ways. Like, you can't blame everything on Zaitsev, but it looks as though that Zaitsev wanted out. Again, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but when you have a guy like Bob McKenzie and Elliot Friedman both saying, listen, this is what's happening, it looks as though that this is the move that's going to be made. So Bob McKenzie had some other tweets here saying Zaitsev is a polarizing figure, and in the short term, trying to make this deal could be problematic. He played big minutes under Mike Babcock. Current Leafs regime is not the one who signed him. That was Lou Lamoriello who signed that big contract. And it warmed up to him as a capable top 4 minute D-man. So I guess basically what he's saying is Zaitsev actually will leave the Leafs in a pretty big hole. And I'm not just saying this to be fair. The Leafs need another guy to fill those minutes. They could facilitate a trade, not just bringing a defenseman back in a Zaitsev trade, but they have lots of options this offseason, and maybe bringing Ron Hainsey back on a 1-year very, very cheap deal is something the Leafs will explore. So Bob McKenzie also stated something that I think a lot of Leaf fans and a lot of hockey fans are thinking. Jake Gardner is not expected back. Dermott has off-season shoulder surgery, and Zaitsev is now probably going to be out of the mix if a deal can be made. So it's going to be a little tough. He also said it's easy to say Toronto would like to lose the longer-term financial commitment to Zaitsev, and perhaps that's true, but that contract could also limit the trade return on the player. So the Leafs probably won't be getting a ton back, because maybe teams aren't very interested in that cap hit and that timeline of his contract. His departure would create a hole on the blue line that already has holes. Now, Okay, and then it follows up with these tweets. I'll just say it right now. Bob McKenzie puts BTW, by the way. I could be wrong on this, but I don't believe the Leafs believe Liljegren and or Sandin are ready to become full-time NHLers next season. We'll see in training camp, but to suggest one or both should be penciled into the lineup is, in my opinion, a real reach. Now, that's fair. He also went on to say, since the league was made aware of this morning's of Zaitsev's availability, there have been multiple inquiries, but it remains to be seen how many teams expect Toronto to retain salary, which they won't. I can guarantee that. They're not going to want to do that. Or make a soft limited return deal because of the term money owed to him. That's probably what's going to happen. There's going to be a sweetener to any deal with Zaitsev. A pick or a prospect or something will be attached depending on how big of the deal they want to make. Now, has he tweeted anything else? He said, and while this may represent an opportunity to get creative and potentially free up some longer-term dollars, in the short term of starting next season without him, this has the potential to be problematic for Toronto. I think that this is being overblown a little bit in some of these tweets because, first of all, when it comes to Liljegren, this year, I don't know if you guys seen the press conference, but it's out there. You can find it. Dubas was ready to call up Timothy Liljegren to give him the Dermott treatment. When Dermott was given that shot, he ran with it and he stayed with the team, and now he's a full-timer. They looked at Liljegren and said, maybe you have a chance to be here, but he got hurt. So then he had to stay with the Marlies, and he's looked really good. The Marlies have used him on the penalty kill, the power play, playing big minutes. Sandin is an interesting one because a lot of people think he's leapfrogged over Liljegren, but I would think they would want to wait for Sandin, but I think they want Liljegren to make the team out of camp. They're going to try. I'd also like to add that Calle Rosen is almost guaranteed to be a Leaf because of the contract he signed, a 2-year deal, like less than $1 million for both years. I think it was like $700,000 or $800,000. My guess was like $725,000. And then Andreas Borgman's interesting too because he's a guy that can rough it up a little bit. Again, these are all left-handed shot defensemen, but very cheap and guys that they think actually could fill some holes. Like Borgman actually looked okay with the Leafs, not great, but he's very physical. He has a chunk of NHL time like Calle Rosen does, and those two are options as well. Timo Kivihalme, the guy that the Leafs signed, I could be saying that incorrectly, but he might get an opportunity to be on the Leafs. They do have options, and they aren't what they would call sexy options. They're not great options. They also have Justin Hall, who's on a very, very cheap contract, and they might try to give him another look. He's a right-handed defenseman if they feel that he might be ready. We'll have to see, but it looks like more information has come out too. Jonas Siegel on Twitter has said that the report regarding Nikita Zaitsev, because Dubas is doing a press conference as we speak, he said that will be our goal to try to find him a fresh start for his own personal and private reasons. So again, I don't know. I guess he just wants a fresh start. Maybe it's the media. Maybe it's the fans that have kind of been on his back a little bit. But again, it's all going to come down to whether or not a deal can be made without salary being retained. But the Leafs can't afford to take back salary, and I do feel bad for Zaitsev because I do think that he's better than what a lot of people say he is. He is 27. He's right-handed, 6'2". Like the guy's had shown some promise for sure when it comes to his point production, and I think with another team maybe he will be able to. But the Leafs, in cap problems now, can't afford to let him try for another year. They have to try to at least sell when he has a little bit of value because in the playoffs, him and Jake Muzzin looked all right. And that's another thing. The Leafs also do have Jake Muzzin for another year. So if they decide Ron Hainsey needs to come back for an extra year at a cheap $1 million deal, then at least you have some other guys there. I personally would like to see them try Borgman, Rosen, and some of these other guys, and then add when they can, like Colin Miller's a guy that they should at least attempt to go after. He's, $3 million on the cap. But the Leafs are going to be doing a lot of trades. There's going to be a lot of moves. They have to. It's not whether or not if. They have to. They don't really have much of a choice. And I'm just trying to refresh here just to make sure that all of this information is correct. But it looks as though now they're just talking about some stuff about, Mitch Marner and other stuff like that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. What do you guys think is going to happen? Where's Zaitsev going to go? Is he going to get traded? What do you guys think about the Leafs in general? By the way, final start tonight. Go Raptors. Depending on when you're watching this, the NBA Finals. Make sure you guys are cheering loud for those Toronto Raptors to beat the Golden State Warriors. But again, make sure to, getting off topic, Let me know what you guys think about this video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad. Let's get to 6,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. I'm working on a better background. This is not going to be where I am most of the time. But again, make sure to click that notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.